good to go. Okay, so everything should start. There we go. Discord has sent the message. So, good evening, everybody. This is, I think, the first time we've ever broadcast twice in 1 week.
I know, it's a surprise, and hopefully a welcome surprise for anyone that's out there listening.
But it's for an incredible occasion because of the fact that it is...
Hockey playoffs are here.
Correct. Hockey playoff season is upon us, and upon us in a huge way because what started with, I would assume, the KHL playoffs, which are now in the final, which is called the Gagarin Cup, or not, unlike the Gagarin Cup, as Andrew had corrected me on the pronunciation.
Yeah, if you watch, my favorite movie growing up was Hunt for the Red October, which is, if anyone doesn't know, it's about a Russian submarine, Soviet submarine that decides to defect. So they talked about Yuri Gagarin, who is a national hero over in Russia. So I know the name quite well.
So yeah, the KHL trophy is named after him. The KHL hasn't actually been a league for quite a long time. It's only been about a little more than 10 years now.
But I think it's their top flight league.
It is their top flight league, and it's probably the second best pro league in the world behind the NHL. Then we've got, of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs started last night, which with probably a great first night of the playoffs. None of the games, I believe, had any sort of lull. All of them had some sort of excitement. All of them came down to the wire. The NHL couldn't have scripted a better first night of playoff hockey. And right now we are watching the semifinal for the college
Four.
Exactly, the College Hockey National Championship out in Buffalo. So we are currently keeping an eye on that. Then we've got preview of the Calder Cup playoffs for the AHL, as well as the Kelly Cup playoffs for the ECHL, and of course our thoughts on the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, but first we're gonna go to the league that we know the very least about, and we're gonna learn about it along the way with you as we're watching Providence and Minnesota Duluth starting off. I believe
Third period.
So
I think it's all tied up.
It's all tied up 1-1. We'll keep an eye on that out in Buffalo. But first, the Gagarin Cup out in the KHL. They are currently in the final, but we're going to figure out how they got there, what they do over there, and if in Soviet Russia, if the cup hoists you.
He already told me that joke once, and I still found it funny.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, because we are completely ignorant as to this league, I know David Dvorak, who is, I believe, works for CBS down here in Miami. He's a huge hockey fan. He's actually helps with the English broadcasts, or at least radio broadcasts, of the KHL games down here. And so he's been following it. He tweets about it. So
they broadcast the KHL down here?
If online, I think there's like an online, like I think Westwood Sports, if somebody does the English translation of or English broadcast of the KHL. There's a lot of Eastern Europeans down here, so
yeah, that's true.
So it's beneficial to everyone. But okay, so the 2019 Gagarin Cup playoffs began on February 25th, 2019. So they were the earliest to start. Top 8 teams from each of the conferences.
Did you say February?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, yes. They started out in February, and it ends at the latest April 25th. So 16 teams make it to the playoffs, just like the NHL. Standard 16 teams qualify for the playoffs. In the Western Conference, the regular season winners and Continental Cup winners were CSKA Moscow with 106 points. So they were in first place, followed by SK St. Petersburg, Lokomotiv Yaroslav, who was the team that had that unfortunate plane crash many years ago already. Then you have Jokerit, a Finnish team, Dynamo Moscow, HC Sochi, Spartak Moscow, and Vityaz Podolsk. I'm hoping I pronounce all of these things correctly, but so then we have in the Eastern Conference, Automobilis Yekaterinburg. This is going to be really fun. Were the Eastern Conference winners with 95 points, followed by Barist, Astana, Metallurg. That's such a metal name. Metallurg, Magnitogorsk. Like, that is such a metal name, and it's such a hockey name. Like, you could just imagine, like, just death metal playing in the arena all the time.
Yeah, that'd be kind of awesome.
Actually, we're gonna go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Oh,
I want to know what they look. Okay, they have a pretty metal logo as well.
Yeah,
it's like a metal wolf or something.
You should put that up on screen.
Yeah, I'll try to. Let's see. Okay, going back, Avangard, Omsk, Akbars, Kazan, Salavat. Oh, gosh, this is Ulaev, Ufa, Torpedo. There's a freaking team that has Torpedo in their name. Nizhny Novgorod and Traktor Chelyabinsk.
Just give up.
Okay, so their playoff is in each round the highest remaining seed in each conference match against the lowest. So it's pretty much like the NHL. In the Gagarin Cup finals, home ice is determined based on regular season points, like the NHL. Each best of 7 series follows a 2-2-1-1-1 format.
So that, for anyone that doesn't know, that means the team with the better record plays the first 2 games. The team with the lesser record at their home. The team with the lesser record then plays 2 games at their home, and then games 5 and 7 are at the higher team. So basically the last 3 alternate back and forth. Ultimately, the higher ranked team gets home game advantage, home ice advantage for game 7. That's one of the 2 main methods of playoffs. The other is a 2-3-2, which is where the higher ranked team plays 2. It's 2 at their stadium or wherever, then it's 3 at the lower ranked team, then it's 2 at the higher ranked team. The MLB does that.
So then we've got so they started on February 25th, 2019, and let's see, Automobilist was upset in the second round. They were the number 1 seed for the Eastern Conference. They were upset in the second round by a number 6 seed, and Salavat Ulaev and Avangard beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So we've got Avangard representing the East, followed by CSKA Moscow was number 1 in the West, and they did not disappoint. They won their first and second round, and then went to Game 7 against SKA Moscow, or SKA St. Petersburg. There we go. And are now in the final against Avangard. So during the first 3 rounds, home ice is determined by seeding number, of course. And so now we're in the Gagarin Cup finals. This is the first playoff meeting between these 2 teams, between Avangard and CSKA Moscow. This is CSKA's 3rd appearance in the final and Avangard's 2nd in the finals. They will start game 1 on April 13th, which is on
2 days.
Yes, on Saturday. Saturday at 5 p.m. Moscow time. So if you want to get up for that, be my guest.
Well, it'll probably be like not still dark out early morning, but probably like 7 a.m. I don't know what Moscow time is compared to Eastern United States, but I'm actually gonna go down that rabbit hole.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's about as much as I know about the Gagarin Cup playoffs from this article.
Here we go. Gotta love Google. Moscow time to Eastern Standard. Well, I guess we're in Eastern Daylight now. So Moscow is 7 hours ahead of Eastern time. So 5 p.m. for them would be 10 a.m. for us, if I'm doing my math right.
That's actually not a bad thing. You can just wake up and watch it.
Yep, you would just sleep in a little bit. It's a Saturday. Sleep in and catch yourself some KHL hockey.
Okay. So if you have nothing to do on Saturday, if you don't care about the Masters, which is going on right now, watch some hockey. Watch some hockey in the morning, or you just want to be like us and just have this whole playoff hockey extravaganza in this playoff hockey season. And we're probably going to do a basketball version of this next week. So, I don't know. Do you want to keep going down the KHL route, or do we move on to what we're watching right now, or do we talk about what happened last night?
If you can give me a few minutes, if we can delay NCAA a few minutes, I'm going to see if I can get BU Canada, Mr. Canada in here.
Okay.
So he's our resident. For those who don't know, he is our resident NCAA hockey expert. He knows everything about college hockey, so I don't think a discussion about it would be complete without his input.
And he's probably sitting down watching this current game at this moment. So, all right, so let's talk about Game 1 last night of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I guess I'll start with the what I felt was the more chippiest of the games, the Dallas Stars versus the Nashville Predators. The Stars came away with a road victory versus the Preds, but it got incredibly chippy towards the end. In fact, it got chippy at the end of that game. It was everything that you could imagine for the NHL as far as a preview for the Winter Classic, as it's going to be held in Dallas between these two teams. So a playoff series is only the best way to promote that and kind of create this rivalry between those two Southern franchises, very honky-tonk hockey, if you will. And Ben Bishop, lo and behold, he's holding it down out there in Dallas, and he's and remember, he's already got the experience of going through, at least getting to the Stanley Cup final. That is a feather in his cap.
Honestly, Ben Bishop used to be the number one goalie for the Tampa Bay Lightning before we traded him to Dallas. And honestly, I thought we were going to be sunk without him, because he's a great goalie. Although he was kind of, I don't know, he had a couple of, like, a down season by his standards a little bit. The guy is huge. I think he's 6'7". He's gigantic. And he played like that in net. Yeah, but, obviously both teams are benefiting from the trade. We brought up Andrei Vasilevsky to be our number one goalie, and he's doing fantastic. He has a good shot of winning the Vezina this year, because he just played out of his mind. And Ben Bishop's doing well too, so I'm happy to see that both goalies are making the most out of this trade.
So, yeah, Bishop, so last night the goals scored, you had Miro Heiskanen, the rookie defenseman, with his first ever Stanley Cup playoff goal. You had Matt Zuccarello, who also, to the dismay of a lot of Rangers fans, scored a goal, as they miss him dearly for the Stars. And, of course, Alex Radulov scored the third goal, or one of the three goals for the Stars. The Predators had PK Subban got his, as well as Roman Josi, but unfortunately Pekka Rinne let in 3 goals. But hey, it was 3-2. I mean, it was as good of a game as you could possibly script for Game 1.
Was Radulov the guy?
The Stars were up 3-1 at one point.
They were up 3-1 at one point.
Right, and then the Preds came to within 1. And yeah, Radulov had left for the KHL and then came back.
He was the one that was causing all that trouble or whatever. I think he was on the Canadiens at one point.
I believe so. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff, but now he's back here and he's doing well. So that was the Stars Preds game. Then I saw the Islanders Penguins game, which went into overtime. Now, that game, man. I'll tell you what, man. I am so happy that they decided to put that first round game at the Nassau Coliseum.
And again, for those, or I'm just kind of the color commentator here, I guess, tonight. So, the Islanders used to be based out of the Nassau Veterans Coliseum out in Long Island, New York, obviously. And the Coliseum is really falling apart by any sort of objective measure. So the Islanders struck a deal with the Barclays Center that they would play all of their games there. Unfortunately, the Barclays Center was not designed to be an NHL venue, so the sightlines were horrible, and the ice sucked because it wasn't designed to have an NHL team there. It was just designed for basketball and maybe some concert events. So the Islanders struck another deal, this time with the Nassau Coliseum, where they would slowly increase.
Well,
you fill in.
So the group that runs the Barclays Center, which is also that runs the Brooklyn Nets, they decided they bought the Nassau Coliseum and renovated it. And now it's the home of their G League team, the Long Island Nets.
G League is the developmental league for the NBA.
And funny thing is, the Brooklyn Nets, who used to be the New Jersey Nets, who used to be the New York Nets, were originally playing at the Nassau Coliseum when they started out before they moved to New Jersey. So they used to share with the Islanders. So it's all kind of, in some weird convoluted way, come full circle. Mm-hmm. For the Nets and the Islanders franchises.
It's kind of like our torts professor said. It's all about the circle.
Yes. Okay, but so yeah, they decided to play starting this season some games back at the Nassau Coliseum as the Islanders are getting a brand new arena built on that side of the island, and it was a rounding success each game that they played there. They played some of the more significant games, especially most notably was the return of John Tavares when they completely, utterly decimated him emotionally to the point where he had to come crying back to Toronto in his PJs. But the crowd, I love their chant of yes, 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 yes,
which is a reference to Daniel Bryan, a WWE wrestler. We should have brought him in just for that. Charles, our resident WWE expert.
But it was a fantastic game. The fact that the Penguins tied it up within like a minute 30 before regulation, just because it's like, oh man, the Penguins being the Penguins, they're gonna find a way to win this game. It seems like when you count them out, the Penguins somehow come back in.
You can never count out a team with Sidney Crosby and Geno Malkin. You can't. It's especially Crosby. Crosby is he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it.
It's funny because a lot of people criticize Crosby, but I've noticed.
No, I criticize him too. I think he gets away with some calls that other players wouldn't.
Yeah, he does, but his skill is beyond, like his smarts, his skill. It is beyond anybody in the game right now.
That's undeniable. Like he used to be like a Connor McDavid type player where he was, all flashy and stuff. But as he's gotten older and matured, it's hard to believe that he's been in the league for probably 12 or 13 years now. I think his first year was 05, 06.
Right after the lockout.
Right. So it's hard to believe that he's been in the league. This upcoming will be, I think, his 14th season, if I'm mathing correctly.
Correct. And his awareness, the fact that he seems to find a way to put the puck on the net, or at least try and get it to one of his teammates, is just amazing. It's the reason the Penguins are where they are. They've made the playoffs I think 13 straight seasons now with Crosby.
Some ridiculous.
I think it's the current. I'm not sure because I know the Red Wings streak ended after 25 years, but it might be the longest streak so far. Maybe the Capitals are there as well. Well, the
Capitals aren't anywhere close.
Okay, so
Capitals, I think, are like 5 or 6 seasons.
They might have missed the playoffs somewhere. Did they? I'm not even sure. That 2012 season when the Panthers won the division, they might have been that season. And then Ottawa got in as the final seed. But okay, regardless, holy crap, there was a goal scored. Goal scored right here.
Yeah, UMD.
Yeah,
Misso Duluth. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. JD, he's not going to be able to make the show tonight, but he's been messaging with me and has a lot to say about the officiating.
I'm looking at the play right now, and yeah, he just kind of found his puck to the net. A shot on the goalie, he just rebounded right to him, and it just kind of carried him right lucky. Into the net.
That's just an unlucky bounce.
It's just a kind of bad rebound control.
I think it caught him up high too, so he was a little dazed.
I don't even know if he got his stick on that puck. I think it hit more of his body for the Duluth score. Okay, well, continuing on. Then of course the Islanders found a way to win at the end with Bailey scoring the game-winning goal on a nice wrister right past Matt Murray. But the Penguins got finally production out of Phil Kessel and Evgeny Malkin in that game. But it's going to be a great series already in Game 1. I'm really excited for that. Then we had the St. Louis Blues, the most, the team that went on the biggest tear just to get back into the playoff race, defeated the Jets in Game 1, which was a Herculean task as well out there. And Patrick Laine scored the opening goal, but then David Perron with the next goal, and then Tyler Bozak to kind of finish them off with 17:55 at 17:55 into the third. So it just kind of ripping the hearts of Winnipeg fans, which to many Atlanta fans, I'm sure they enjoyed that because I
guess I have to rip off the Band-Aid now and talk about.
I didn't get to see the Jets game because it wasn't shown.
Oh.
I saw the Islanders game. I saw the Stars game, and I saw the Sharks game. They put a spanking on the Knights. They didn't even give them a shot. Of course, they faced each other last season in the second round, but of course the Knights had the home ice.
Right.
But this time the Sharks are no longer. I'll tell you this for the Knights. They have to be very wary because, from the Panthers, they had that run in '96, and they made the playoffs the following season.
And then they crashed.
They made the playoffs the following season against the Rangers. They won Game 1, and then promptly were lost 3 more games to, because back then it was a 5-game series.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and they lost to the New York Rangers. So there's no more Cinderella underdog, upstart, surprising anymore for the Knights. The Sharks are ready for them, and they have even more weapons than what they had last season. With Erik Karlsson,
right,
and Evander Kane's on the squad. Well, he was there last season as well, but a full year of Evander Kane, who actually scored a goal in that game. They got a great third line production. I mean, you have a future Hall of Famer in Joe Thornton on your third line, and those guys are producing. So it's not like the Sharks have the lack of any sort of weapons to face off against the Knights. Fleury was heckled very much by the Sharks crowd with the Fleury chants. So we'll see what happens in Game 2, but and it got chippy towards the end. And these guys,
playoffs games tend to do.
But of course, they are in the same division,
right?
And the Sharks and the Knights have acknowledged that this is getting to a boiling point. So we might see some real fisticuffs come game 2 or the first game out in Vegas.
Ooh, this will be fun.
All right, Andrew.
Well, I guess
it is time.
It's time.
What the heck happened?
Well, let me put on my fan hat initially first.
Hey, you want this Astros hat?
Nah, it's fine.
I have a Houston Astros hat here.
That was just I'm gonna put my fan/analyst hat on at the same time. They had a great start to the game. 3 straight goals. 2 in the first period alone. They were playing Lightning hockey, what they've been doing all season. The problem is, what they haven't been doing all season is they just let off the gas. And you could tell, there was one goal in particular where I was just shaking my head thinking, what on earth were they doing? They had the puck in their defensive zone, and one of the defensemen, just kind of blindly chucked it out into the neutral zone. It was picked up by a Blue Jackets player who walked in. Admittedly, he did an amazing deke. It was a bit of a toe drag that went from outside to inside, and he got too close to Vasilevsky, so any shot he took he wouldn't be able to react in time, so naturally there was a goal. But something I've seen from watching the Lightning during the regular season is it seems like everything they did was for a reason. There wasn't any sort of wasted energy. There wasn't any kind of random careless play. There was one goal I remember. I can't remember what game it was, but one of the players comes just absolutely rocketing into the offensive zone and decides to just cut on the brakes and sits there for maybe 2 seconds, not moving at all. And then he finds the outlet pass across the ice, and the guy shoots it in. Or another one where the Lightning made 4 passes that they shouldn't, that I think just to get the best shot. Any one of them would have had a shot at scoring a goal, but they just kept passing and passing and passing until finally they got the shot. The stuff I was seeing, it's almost like they gave up. They thought, we have a 3-0 lead into the second period. There's no way they're coming back from this. But as we discussed a week or 2 ago, this is the playoffs, man. You can't take anything for granted. And
it kind of goes to the MO of the Blue Jackets, because remember, this season for the Blue Jackets, this is their all in.
Right.
This is the there's Panarin wants out.
Bobrovsky wants out. They decided to not trade those guys and decided to trade for help to get them to this point. And they are on it's just a mission. It is a suicide mission for their franchise to win the Stanley Cup now before all this falls apart. It's almost kind of like what the Lightning are going through in a different sense, but this is the last season that the Lightning have a lot of these players on contract, and they can't pay them all what they are going to ask for. So a lot of key players are going to be gone after this year.
So it's basically like what my brother-in-law had suggested. It's like if Panarin and Bobrovsky go to Florida, let's say, because that's the rumor, is that's the destination spot, especially now that Joe Quenneville is the coach now. Is basically,
and we'll have to talk about that in a little bit.
We will, but you can just basically take the Blue Jackets out of the spot and put the Panthers there for next season. But that's the future. But the Blue Jackets, after they made those trades at the trade deadline, they struggled to kind of capture that final wild card spot. They were in there jockeying with the Carolina Hurricanes and the Montreal Canadiens all the way towards the end when they had just enough juice to get over the hump, and played pretty well heading into their final 10 games of the season, which got them ahead of Montreal. And lo and behold, now they had their backs against the wall for almost the entire second half of the season, and now the same thing happened to them after that first period. They had their backs against the wall, and they clawed their way back, just like they clawed their way into the playoffs. So
absolutely.
So the Blue Jackets are primed for this, and that's kind of dangerous for the Lightning. And you guys have to, and we discussed it last night. I texted you. You guys have to destroy them tomorrow, because even if you guys beat them in like overtime, that still gives them confidence, like, oh, we're going home 1-1, when everybody thought we'd be destroyed by you guys after 2 games heading into Columbus.
And let me be clear, even though I'm ragging on the Lightning for kind of letting their guard down a little bit,
I mean, you're not as bad as that one guy who already burned his Lightning jersey.
I would never do that. I mean, short of, no, I can't think of any reason I would burn a jersey. I might donate it to Goodwill so someone else can use it, but I wouldn't burn it. It's just a waste. For anyone out there who burns jerseys, burns shoes, just donate it to Goodwill. Come on.
The Boston Bruins and Leafs game is on right now. We forgot to mention that. Boston's already up 1-0 with 9:03 left in the first. So we will actually start looking at that game too after the Frozen Four.
Right. So anyway, that was my PSA. Donate your no longer wanted jerseys. Let someone else have them. Anyway, going back to my topic. As much as I'm ragging on the Lightning for what happened, I still got to give props to the Blue Jackets, because they were down 3-0 and they didn't give up. So just as much as the Lightning giving up or slowing down, taking their foot off the gas, affected the game, even more so was the Blue Jackets said, we're not giving up. We're going to play until the last horn sounds. But yeah, as we were saying, the Lightning have to win and win big. They have a team that has nothing to lose, like the Blue Jackets, like Vegas last year.
I mean, well, in a sense, I believe the Blue Jackets have they have they already have everything to lose, because they know they're going to lose it this season.
Right.
But once again, with that mindset, it's like, well, crap. I mean, if we're going to lose this anyways, we're going to go out
with a bang.
Exactly. And this could be bad for the Lightning, even if they win this series. If this goes 7 games,
they're going to be tired.
Exactly, and they'll be heading into a second round against either Boston, or would it be against Boston or Montreal or
I don't
Toronto?
Know. I'll look it up. But anyway, or you look it up, and I'll keep discussing, I guess. Yeah, the Lightning have to win, and they have to win big in Game 2. For one thing, they're going back to Columbus. And even though the Lightning were, I think, the first, if they were one of few, if not the first team to win 30 games home and away, which is ridiculous. So they're almost as strong away as they are at home. But again, it's the playoffs. And, I mean, look at the Winnipeg whiteout. I mean, I know they lost last night, but home ice in the playoffs can't be understated. So Lightning not only have to have at least one win under their belt, so they're guaranteed a game back in Tampa, but they have to win big to sort of extinguish any sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? Momentum.
Okay.
Any sort of momentum that the Blue Jackets could have. Well, they do have going into Game 2. I know this one took a little bit longer, but I actually have a personal stake in the team, so I can analyze a bit more and actually know what I'm talking about.
And just the way you guys, especially that third goal, it was a shorthanded goal that you guys gave up. That was really bad.
Yeah, it's just...
I think that kind of deflated because they tied the game at that point, and it was in such a deflating way, that third goal.
Yeah.
That lo and behold, then Seth Jones scores the go-ahead goal.
Right. No, it's... Yeah, it was... The start of the game was Lightning hockey. That was patented 2018-2019 Lightning hockey. Couldn't have started any better. They just have to keep doing that. They can't play... They have to play to win, not to lose, if that makes any sense. That's kind of a saying that some people have, which kind of makes sense. But anyway, so that's the end of the games that have been played in the NHL playoffs so far. We have the Bruins Maple Leafs game on right now. They're playing in the Garden, TD Garden. Boston's up 1-0 right now with, what's that, 6 minutes left in the first period. I'm sorry. Just a quick aside before we go on to the other NHL series. Minnesota Duluth with 2:31 left in the third period is still ahead 2-1 on Providence.
This is the first game?
This is the first of two tonight.
Okay. That's what I want to know, because they're playing back-to-back.
So the finals will be set by this evening because UMass and Denver play right after this.
Okay. So later on tonight, actually soon, about to start, is going to be the Washington Capitals' first time title defense against the bunch of jerks, the Carolina Hurricanes. I can't wait. I don't expect the Hurricanes to win that series, but I hope that they can at least give the Capitals a good fight, because they are within the same division. They faced each other before. I don't know how they fared against the Caps this season. And then later on tonight, the late game, which we will not be covering, will not be happening, but the best team in the Western Conference, the Calgary Flames, with Johnny Hockey, and facing off against the Colorado Avalanche, who Yuri Tree said remembered how to play playoff hockey again, because it seems like they're on and off every season. Like one season they're like, okay, we just suck, and the next season they're like, oh yeah, we actually have some good guys on this team and can actually win. Unfortunately, I feel like the Avalanche are the least deserving of the teams in the playoffs, because there are Eastern Conference teams that had more victories than them, like Montreal. Montreal was the 14th best team in the league. Colorado's the 17th best team, and yet Montreal's sitting out of the playoffs, even though they're the Habs and we should hate them, but it's unfair. In my opinion.
That's why a lot of people.
I think the Arizona Coyotes even had more actual victories than them, and yet less points because of the Bettman points.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Providence has an empty net. We're under a minute to go in the third period, so we'll see how that. I'm just going to jump in every now and then with any sort of updates. Yeah,
we're heading towards the end of this game. They're actually putting their goalie back.
They're putting him back in
because
I think it was an icing.
Yeah, well, they're dropping the puck just along the blue line, so they're going to see if they gain possession before, and it looks like he's going to have to stay in the net, as Minnesota is going to put on some pressure on Providence.
Oh, and by the way, just as a heads up, or something really interesting, Providence's goalie, his last name is Hockey. It's spelled Hawkey, but still it's pronounced like the sport that he plays.
And there's the empty net goal. And Minnesota Duluth is up 3-1. They will move on to the final to defend their championship.
The spotlight operator got started a little bit early there, but it was still going in anyway. But so Minnesota Duluth, who I'll discuss a little bit later. JD, or no, BU or JD, whatever he goes by. He thought Minnesota Duluth got shafted a few times in this game, but I will discuss later.
Well, it looks like karma allowed them to win anyway. So, I mean, they are the defending champions, and Yeah, it looks like Providence is going home. As we see the sad faces on all the players right now. But, hey, man, they played hard up until, an empty net goal. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
All right, so we were discussing the the late series, late game.
Well, yeah, the Flames have teared up the Western Conference. I think much to the surprise of everybody, but I think this is just the culmination of their development at this point, because they have been developing this young and dynamic team. Johnny Hockey, Sean Monahan out there.
Wow, another empty net goal for Minnesota Duluth.
Okay, so that is just
that's just ouch.
That's kind of overkill at this point.
Yeah. 6 seconds
They did that
left.
pretty quickly after the first one, so. At this point, and then the game is over finally. Minnesota moves on to the final, and we'll see if they face off against who's the next round?
UMass and Denver.
UMass and Denver. Denver won a couple seasons ago prior to that, so we'll see what happens between the Minutemen and
I think the Pioneers.
Pioneers, yeah, that's right. They are the Pioneers.
All right, so back to Calgary. Who are they playing?
Colorado,
right.
So a lot of firepower. The Avalanche did have a plus goal differential. That's probably what put them over the top as far as getting them those overtime points, getting them into overtime over teams like Arizona. I still think the Flames are going to win that series because it seems like the Avalanche find a way to lose their first round series. But I don't know. They are not in the same division. I don't know how they did during the regular season, so it's just going to be a kind of a toss-up matchup. But I think the Flames will hand them a first-round exit. All right, so let's start learning some more things about the other playoffs in the minor leagues of hockey. So let's start with. How about we start with the ECHL?
That's fine with me.
To go with. We'll go down that rabbit hole that we do not know much about. Although you did point out to me that all of the Florida ECHL teams have made the Kelly Cup playoffs.
That is correct. The Orlando Solar Bears, the Florida Everblades. Get it? Everblades. And I forget. Toronto just scored. So it's all tied up in Boston right now.
So it looks like Marner just put one past. Let's see, there was a face-off just to the right of Rask. And then, it bounced and caromed, and
it was a diving shot at that.
So there was a shot from the point. It hit the pipe.
Post.
Hit the pipe on Rask's stick side, and then just found Marner, who just dove and shot at the same time to get it past on the open net. 1-1 Toronto and Boston with 3:16 left in the first period. So that'll silence those Bostonians who have had it too good for too long, since 2000.
The quote-unquote massholes.
And they might actually have their UMass Minutemen make
that would
the
be
final.
Ridiculous.
So,
that would be ridiculous. All right, so
Cup playoffs. So
there is a game live right now. It is the Jacksonville Icemen. That's what their name is. The Jacksonville Icemen against the Florida Everblades in whatever city the Everblades are in.
Estero,
thank you.
Estero at the Germain Arena.
Who are the other teams in the bracket? Let's see. Here we go. 2019 Kelly Cup playoffs. Thank you, Wikipedia. So playoff seeds. The teams for the Eastern Conference are the Newfoundland Growlers, the Adirondack Thunder, the Manchester Monarchs, the Brampton Beast, the Florida Everblades, the Orlando Solar Bears, the South Carolina Stingrays, and the Jacksonville Icemen. I guess I should just go by the seeding pairs. So it's Newfoundland against Brampton, Adirondack against Manchester, the Florida Everblades against Jacksonville, Orlando Solar Bears versus South Carolina Stingrays, and then over in the West, you've got the Cincinnati Cyclones, who also won the Brabham Cup, which I assume is their President's Trophy. The Kalamazoo Wings, the Toledo Walleye against the Fort Wayne Comets, my hometown Tulsa Oilers against the Kansas City Mavericks, and the Idaho Steelheads against the Utah Grizzlies. So both of my hometown teams are in the playoffs this year, which is very fun. I hope they don't meet in the finals. That would suck.
It'd actually be pretty fun if they did, because then there would be some games out at the Amway Center, and we could make a trip up there.
We could theoretically go.
I mean, right now they are selling. We could actually theoretically go to all of the. We could go up to Jacksonville. We could go. The closest to us would probably be the Germain Arena. That's just right across the Alligator Alley.
Right.
So.
Estero is much closer than Jacksonville. It only takes about, I think,
and closer than Orlando too.
Right. Orlando's 4 hours from Miami. Jacksonville's probably 6. And then Estero is probably 2 hours just straight across the bottom of the state. So anyway, we don't know anything about these teams. But we do know that Newfoundland was their division winner. The Everblades were theirs. The Oilers were their division champions. Very nice. And then the Cyclones not only won their division, but they had the best record, and they had the most points in the ECHL.
So I want to go down the ECHL rabbit hole. We're going to learn about this league. So it's called the East Coast Hockey League, although it is not completely situated in the East Coast anymore.
Well, technically speaking, I'm going to correct you here. It is just now the ECHL. They dropped the meaning behind the acronym.
Right. You're right about that. The most titles ever belong to the Alaska Aces, Hampton Roads Admirals, and the South Carolina Stingrays. I believe the Alaska Aces don't even exist anymore.
They were, so they are gone. They are now the Maine Mariners. So they still kind of exist.
Right. And the Maine Mariners were a prior team. There's a lot of, with these minor league teams, they resurrect names.
Right.
They're not the same franchises from way back when. There's a lot of, it's just like Major League Baseball's minor leagues. There's just so many interchanging parts.
And then Hampton Roads Admirals, they're also gone. They're completely gone.
So as of this season, there's only 25 of the ECHL teams are affiliated with the 31 NHL teams, so only 25 of them. I know the Florida Panthers don't have one, even though they should, at least get Jacksonville or something.
I know.
So we're gonna look. I'm gonna look at the affiliations. So Anaheim, Columbus, Florida, Montreal, Nashville, and San Jose have no official affiliations.
I know that the Solar Bears are affiliated with the Tampa Bay Lightning, which makes total sense.
It makes absolute sense, and it's great for building the market between Orlando and Tampa and creating that connection.
That sweet Orlando.
It's kind of what I would hope the Panthers had done with the Everblades, because they're right across. Right. It's actually you can actually get to I-75 from the Panthers arena. So we've got let's see, Hertz Arena is actually.
Are the Everblades even? They're associated with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, exactly. They're associated with the Carolina Hurricanes, even though we're gonna look. So the teams currently, there's a plan for one more team, because we're gonna have Seattle entering the league. So that's probably gonna be one more team there, and a team in the American Hockey League, just to have affiliates for everybody. Well, even though the ECHL doesn't have total NHL affiliation. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the current teams as well. We'll look through the history of them, actually. So the Alaska Aces, who have 3 titles, were a team from 2003 to 2017, and they relocated, as Andrew had said before, to Portland, Maine for this season. Actually, this was their first season out in Portland. Arkansas Riverblades, were from 99 to 2003. The Atlantic's man, this is a name. The Atlantic City Boardwalk Bullies. That's a name, and they moved to Stockton after the 2005 season. The Augusta Lynx, which I guess is Augusta, Georgia, and I guess Lynx is both. It means the cat, and I'm assuming Lynx as in links, like golf links, because that's where the Masters is being held.
In Augusta?
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia. So that's kind of a clever name.
Yeah. I will say though, and I told you this earlier, my favorite minor league name of all time was a team out in Macon, Georgia. They are the Macon Whoopee. I look it up. I swear I am not lying. There was a team called the Macon Whoopee. And just to further solidify the double entendre here, their logo was a stork. Again, only in the minor leagues would you see something like this.
So then we have the Bakersfield Condors from 2003 to 2015. They moved to Norfolk, Virginia, become the Norfolk Admirals, but the team was replaced by an AHL team with the same name. Then we have, and of course, they had that hilarious incident with an actual condor during the national anthem. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't.
You do not?
I don't remember this.
Oh boy. Oh, Andrew, are you sure? This is one of like the most hilarious things I've ever seen happen in a hockey arena, let alone any sort of venue.
No, I don't know this.
Okay, so we're
going under further route.
We're gonna go further down the rabbit hole again. So I'm just gonna turn away from this ECHL playoff thing. We're gonna turn this off. We're gonna head on down to YouTube for this one, because you have to see this. Okay, so you know what a California condor is, right? It's an incredibly well, I don't think they're as they might be endangered still, or they've at least reached numbers because of the conservation efforts to at least be more safe. But you do know what it is, right?
It's a large bird.
Very large bird. Okay, so let me let's go on. Bakersfield Condors gets loose. Okay.
All right, hold on. I'm moving over.
So let me put this on full screen here. You won't be able to hear. Well, actually, you should be able to hear this, Andrew. So I don't know if you want to pop in this on the earphone, or actually, let me put it hopefully loud enough so you can hear it. If it's too loud, let me know. So we have the condor handler taking out the condor as if he was a bald eagle during the national anthem. Condor's a bit agitated though, but he's out there on the ice as you see the ECHL players standing there. But there's something wrong.
May not like her singing.
Welcome back inside. Watching Arena, the Condors and the Wranglers meeting for the 7th time on the season. We're laughing, but we shouldn't be laughing.
We shouldn't be.
The Condor is out running around at center ice. I love it. I love it. This is Condor's town. The bird's going over to the Condor.
The Birdman was bringing the bird out to put him at the perch.
That is a large
the Condors
bird.
players are getting away from him.
Really
Look at
see
him.
it from that high angle. And it's into the bench.
I love it. Oh my God. This is the greatest.
Oh my gosh.
The bird's going down.
He's down the tunnel. The bird's done. He's down the tunnel.
He's going to the locker.
And that didn't exactly go as planned, but it's all good.
I'm glad you can get through the play-by-play of that.
Hey,
because
exit stage left for the bird.
the
At
bird
least he
was
went down
trying
the
to
right tunnel.
It almost took Matt Odette's head off.
Well, I was as he started to it moves like a turkey.
Yes.
It's a big bird.
Oh,
It has a
God.
swagger. Yeah. And it's moving over towards the
crack
bench, and
up
I can see
watching
the
it.
guys over there. They're kind of like, I'm not
Oh,
sure about this
boy.
I
one.
don't think this is planned.
A couple
Okay.
of them were like moving out of the
So-
way. I mean, these are professional hockey
It's in
players.
Bakersfield,
They're in gear
California,
from like head to toe.
home of the
The
Condors.
starting line at first
That was
before you
amazing.
back to the bird.
That was amazing.
It was hilarious.
You only see that kind of stuff in the minors.
And that's why everybody loves minor league teams, just teams in general.
You know, you got the San Diego Chicken. Yeah, it's. Well, anyway.
So back to the ECHL. So the Bakersfield Condor. We're going down ECHL history of all these teams because we like this type of stuff. We like learning about these teams and the history and looking at logos and things like that. In fact, let me put up sports logos while we're looking at these so we can see the names along with it before we go on down and see what's going on with the playoff. But this is just our playoff extravaganza. It's kind of like
Right.
a hockey extravaganza. Just
Exactly.
us just expelling our love for hockey and the craziness of the NHL and all these leagues. So let's see ECHL. Here we go.
But anyway, we have as much fun doing this as we hope you have listening to us. This is the kind of stuff we would do anyway, but we figured that we might, just put it on camera or on microphone.
So we got the defunct teams logos up here.
Mm-hmm.
The Augusta Lynx. I got the Bakersfield Condors, even though the team technically still does exist as an AHL team now. The Baton Rouge Kingfish. With, as you see, there's a logo of that with the kingfish itself with a hockey stick. Then we've got the Birmingham Bulls. Once again, Birmingham.
Gotta love alliteration.
Every team, yeah, exactly. They moved to New Jersey and are now the Adirondack Thunder. Then the Charlotte Checkers, who are currently a team, but they were. They used to be a team and then they were replaced as an AHL team as well. So much like the Condors, now they're an American Hockey League team, which was a part of the great shift for the NHL when they split the current conferences and
Right.
The AHL also followed suit and then the ECHL as well. Then we've got the Carolina / Winston-Salem Thunderbirds. So... then we have there's the Charlotte Checkers again. We've got the Chesapeake Icebreakers, and they moved to Jackson, Mississippi after the 99 season. The Chicago Express, their membership was relinquished to ECHL. I don't know what that means. But maybe they created the team and they just never got off the ground. I'm not even sure. But the Colorado Eagles, who are currently the defending Kelly Cup champions. They were obtained in expansion franchise in the AHL now. So
They got dropped?
Huh?
They got dropped?
No, they moved up.
Oh.
They moved up to the AHL now. So it's kind
So-
of like relegation in soccer that you can move
Right.
up and down. So this
Well,
is kind of sort of, but they moved up one league.
This season was the first year they've been in the AHL?
First year in the American Hockey League.
Wow.
So the Columbia Inferno, they voluntarily suspended operations, kind of like the AAF, I guess. God,
You suspend operations. You suspend operations. Everybody suspends operations. This has been a suspending operations kind of year.
Columbus Chill. They were a team from 91 to 99, and they suspended operations because of the Blue Jackets coming into the league.
Actually,
and relocated to Reading, Pennsylvania afterwards.
I think there was another minor league team in Columbus, the Cottonmouths.
You are completely correct, because that's the next team on the list. They moved down to the Southern Professional Hockey League.
There used to be an Orlando team in the SPHL.
And then the ECHL franchise itself, so I guess the Columbus Cottonmouths moved to... Okay, so then they moved to Bradenton, Sarasota, Florida to become the Gulf Coast Swords, which the franchise revoked in summer 2006 after construction halted on proposed home arena. So I guess they never really moved. I guess they stopped because they just didn't have a home anymore. This minor league team history is just so weird and convoluted. This is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And we're just going down ECHL history because I don't know any of this. This is pretty interesting. The Dayton Bombers, they are, I guess that goes towards Dayton's aviation history, I'm assuming, because aren't the Dayton Aces the university team for Dayton, Ohio?
No, the Flyers.
The Flyers. Okay, but still, their aviation history, I believe, is part of that. So Dayton Bombers.
Although I know they have a minor league, or did. I'm not sure if they're still there. The Dayton Dragons.
91 to 2009. And then the Elmira Jackals, which I don't see a logo for them.
Oh, there! Look at that. The National Museum of the U.S. Air Force is in Dayton.
There you go. So it is their aviation history that they're invoking there.
And is the birthplace of Orville Wright. So and its motto, birthplace of aviation. So this is, you can't get much more aviation-centric than this city.
Okay, so the Elmira Jackals, then the Erie Panthers. A terrible logo. Dear Lord, that is a freaky logo. They moved to Baton Rouge after the 96 season. The Evansville Icemen from 2012 to 2016 and are now
the Jacksonville Icemen.
There we go. And they've kept their logo and just terrible name. Dear Lord. They got to change that out in Jacksonville.
I don't think ice exists in Jacksonville, except in ice in refrigerators or whatever. I don't think ice can exist at any time of year outside in Jacksonville.
And then we've got the Fresno Falcons from 2003 to 2008. So their ownership group was not able to continue their operations after 2008. And they tried to create a second team, but that folded mid-season. So then we have the Greensboro Generals from up to 2004. The Greensboro Monarchs. So Greensboro got a second or had a shot beforehand, and they became the Carolina Monarchs of the AHL. And then you have the Greenville Growl with 3 R's in the growl, by the way.
The Greenville Growl.
With I guess like a clip art image of a dog on the top of their logo.
That is possibly growling.
The Hampton Road Admirals, so the Hampton Road Admirals in 1989 to 2000 and were replaced by the Norfolk Admirals of the American Hockey League. The ECHL team was purchased in 2001 and moved to Columbus, Georgia to become the Cottonmouths. Then we have the...
How many more of these teams are there?
This is the ECHL. We're at the bottom rung of minor league hockey. So
I get it, but we have other things to move on to.
That's true. We haven't even talked about the American Hockey League.
Exactly.
Although, okay.
And I would like to go...
There's a team called Jacksonville had a team called the Lizard Kings. That is interesting. Okay, so, sorry. We are an hour in.
I know. I was trying to kind of stealthily allude to that. Okay. You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen?
It does mean something.
It is.
Yeah, our word from our non-sponsors.
Exactly. And I would like to start again. I know. Two episodes in a row.
Okay, go ahead.
my non-sponsor of the week is that California Condor.
Okay. Okay, let's...
That California Condor was amazing. Did a fantastic job of eluding the authorities and just not giving a damn. Just said, you know what? I don't want to be here. I'm just going to walk away from you. Oh, you fell down? Great. Perfect opportunity for me to go ahead and walk away and do my own thing. And then, oh, I'm bothering you players in the bench? I don't care. I'm just going to jump on top of you and walk until I find a way to get out of here. That Condor did not care. He's my spirit animal, not caring about anything. Just, you know what? I want to get out of here. Not.
So because of this, and we're gonna do, because you've already shouted out to people to donate their clothes if they're really angry at their favorite athletes and teams. So we're gonna look at the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and learn a little bit about the California Condor, because that's what hockey is all about. So, the California Condor, Gymnogyps californianus, is one of the largest flying birds in the world. When it soars, the wings spread more than 9 feet from tip to tip. Condors weigh more than 20 pounds. So that was a big old bird that was on top of that guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the male Andean condor of South America is even larger than the California condor. Both are endangered species still. So they still are endangered, but conservation efforts have really helped in the protection of these birds. Thousands of years ago, they used to spread across many states, including our Florida, even up into New York and Texas. So, and even some evidence out in British Columbia of these birds. Lead poisoning is a serious problem for the birds in the wild.
Yeah.
And in California, they have a lot of air pollution, so that doesn't help at all for them. In the 1970s, they found that there were only a few dozen of the birds left in the wild. So, in 1980, they decided to get their butts in gear and try and save these birds. And let's see. So they raised young ones in captivity and all sort of things like that. So they decided to captive breed these birds and then release them into the wild later on. And as of 2016, so they went from 27 birds in 1987 and are now up to 446 of them as of 2016. Now, that's still very few. Kind of reminds me of my beloved Florida Panther.
Right.
But,
not the team, the animal. But
both are endangered species, right, to be honest. But
but it's a good start to go from a couple of dozen to over. I can't math. I'm sorry, everybody. All I know is 28 is a lot smaller than 400 something.
Exactly. So the book, I guess they'll continue the good fight and see what happens with that bird. So as the condor population, wild and captive, so both in total, reaching over 460 in 2017. So there are lots of there's education and outreach. I'm sure, Andrew, you would encourage people to donate if they want to save this majestic bird so we can have them at all our hockey games.
Absolutely. I'm all about donating to make the world a better place. And whether it's donating an unwanted jersey because you are really angry at a player, or donating to wildlife conservancy or something of that extent, do it. It'll make the world a better place. Whether it's money, donating time, whether it's your local SPCA, I don't care. Do something to make the world a better place. So I guess that could also be my non-sponsor, is do a good turn daily, as the Boy Scouts would say. Do a good deed. I'll stick with the Condor as my non-sponsor, though, because he was awesome. Or she. It was awesome.
Okay, so promo code
Icebird.
Icebird. Okay, so I suggested that maybe we do the non-sponsor thing, so I'm kind of have to go improvising with this. So as I think about it right now, as I'm trying to stall for time.
Do you need me to fill the dead air?
No, gosh, man. You know what? Let's turn. If I think of it along the way, we'll
come back to it.
We'll come back to it. So let's.
Wait, I have one for you.
Okay, go ahead.
We just went there this afternoon.
But yours was so wholesome and nice and all that stuff. Now, like if I'm just gonna talk about food, I can talk about food all day, but I don't want to talk about food all day. Okay, well, to stall as I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna look at the Major League Baseball scores. But it is we are into the second period for the Leafs Bruins game at 1-1, and the Capitals are up 2-0 already with 5:52 left in the first on the bunch of jerks. So they are, and I'm pretty unsure they're not going to make the same mistake the Lightning did if they go up 3-0.
No.
And so.
Oh, and just as a correction, I was looking at it. The Lightning scored all 3 of their goals in the first period. Okay. So it wasn't 2 in the first, then 1 in the second.
It was all 3.
It was all 3 in the first.
You corrected yourself earlier, though. But
did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I'm double correcting myself just to be sure.
Okay, so you know who my non-sponsor is right now?
Ooh.
Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles.
What a poor
and I'm pretty
soul.
darn sure he's got enough money to sponsor me if he wanted to. Okay, so to preface this to everybody, so Chris Davis is a first baseman / I guess designated hitter if you want, for the Baltimore Orioles Major League Baseball team. In 2016, he received a massive contract from the Orioles.
I'm actually looking that up right now.
Yeah, look it up, Andrew, because we're going to talk very significantly about this man. Now, prior to that, he was probably one of the best up-and-coming players in the league.
No question. Absolutely no question.
It seemed like, okay, the Orioles now have a guy for them for the next, decade or so, much like what the Braves have done with Acuna, the Angels have done with Trout,
right?
The Phillies have done with Harper, and San Diego with Machado. Unfortunately, Chris Davis, sorry?
On January 21st, 2016, Davis signed a 7-year, $161 million contract. Coincidentally, 161 was the number of home runs Chris Davis hit with the Orioles before signing the contract.
Which probably was, I guess, the point of that number.
Right.
Probably. At that point, he had already had a 50 home run season.
The dude was ridiculous. I don't want to say, he was going to be really good if he kept it up.
All right, so we're going to pull up Chris Davis here on the screen. Now, mind you, there are 2 Chris Davises currently in Major League Baseball, as far as I know.
There's a CH, which is the one we're discussing.
And
there's a KH,
which is what many people are now calling, including myself, the good Chris Davis.
Well, you haven't even told the lovely people out there, why we're discussing Chris Davis.
Well, I'm pulling up his page here on Baseball Reference. So the dude is actually a year older than me, and
you old.
Yeah, I am old. He debuted in 2008 with the Texas Rangers. And why is this thing in the middle of my screen? What the heck is that? It's just like a gray and silver thing. It's like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, just in the middle of the screen. But regardless, he debuted in 2008 with the Texas Rangers. And he played with them up until 2011 when he was traded to Baltimore, in which case was he on the Rangers World Series roster? Postseason batting?
Looks like he was.
No, he was not. He's only played in the playoffs for the Orioles, so never mind. Okay, but regardless, so back to it. He played for the Orioles, and this thing is in the middle of my screen. What the heck is this? I'm trying to get it out of the way. Okay, but regardless, okay, he was having a fantastic season with the Orioles. Was up and coming. They made that massive contract. It's like, okay, we got our guy. Unfortunately, he has been anything but reliable after that. He hit 53 home runs in 2013.
I challenge you. He has been reliable. He has been very reliable over the end of last season and the beginning of this one. He's been very reliable.
Okay, so let's get to the gist of why Chris Davis is my non-sponsor. So, beginning on September...
Hold on.
14th, I believe.
Beginning on
September
14th,
yeah,
2018.
September
right.
14th, 2018. Chris Davis decided to embark on a journey that no one has ever gone on before in Major League Baseball history. Chris Davis has not gotten a single hit since that date. And he's gone up to bat since that day. Now, mind you, September, in the middle of September, that's the end of the season. The Orioles didn't make the playoffs. They're the worst team last season. He went 0-4 for the rest of the season. That's fine. That's understandable. Okay, fine. It's a terrible team. Everything was horrible for the Orioles last season. Okay, we're 2019 now. The Orioles actually had a pretty good start to their season for now. But they're projected to be a horrible team. Hey, Chris Davis, I don't even know what he did in spring training. Maybe he got a hit or two there, but spring training doesn't matter. Once the game started to matter, Chris Davis decided, that thing I was doing in 2018, I'm gonna keep doing it. And we were watching. This has been on the minds of a lot of baseball people for now that it's getting attention. Okay, Chris Davis has been relentlessly booed by Baltimore Orioles fans because of the fact that he's being paid so much to do nothing.
We haven't told them why this is so important.
Because he is the current record holder for ineptitude at the plate.
He went hitless on September 14th. He is now 0 for 53 in registered at-bats and 0 for 59 in any plate appearance.
And mind you, his manager, I think Buck Showalter is still the manager. I'm not sure.
I have no clue. I'll look that up.
If not, regardless, his managers have tried to find a way to get him out of this slump. He's been benched. He's been moved up and down the lineup.
Brandon Hyde is their current manager.
Okay, so Buck Showalter is gone, but he's not going to manage a horrible team anymore. He's been benched. He had a pinch hit at bat yesterday for the DH. Like he started at first base today. He had 3 at bats, 0 for with a walk. So at least he got on base. So he does have an on base percentage.
He does have an on base percentage.
It is currently, as of today, it is let's see, that's his OPS. Where's his on base percentage here? I'm trying to find it. There it is, OBP. He has a 121 on base percentage, so he has made it to first base at the very least.
He made it to base today. He was walked.
Mind you, the Orioles are facing the Oakland A's right now, who have Chris Davis with a K, the good Chris Davis, and he is at the polar opposite of Chris Davis with a C. Chris Davis with a K has hit him, along with Christian Yelich, have had the most home runs in Major League Baseball between the date that Chris Davis with a C, the bad one, started this epic hitless offer.
I mean, admittedly, Chris Davis was better before this. He had a pretty good 2016 season, and he had a very good 2017 season, even well before September 14th. But we're going to ignore that narrative and just say that the two started getting good and bad, respectively, at the same time.
So, Chris Davis with the K has hit 4 home runs in 2 games of the series between the Orioles and the A's, whereas bad Chris Davis with a C has tried as he might. he put the ball on the bat, and it went right down the line, but it was just fouled. That was the closest he's probably gotten.
If I can put a caveat into your non-sponsor, he's been hitting the ball well. He's hit one or two out to the warning track. That one that he hit earlier today was, if it had been maybe 6 inches to the right, it was right on the baseline. It would have been fair, and he would have had the hit. And it was hit so hard, there was no chance the first baseman would have gotten anywhere near it.
And to your point of that, someone has been tracking his exit velocities on his on his connections with the ball, coming off the bat for the foul balls and his outs. That he's getting close, like he's getting there, and he's hitting into shifts and things like that.
Unfortunately, he's a big pull hitter. So they're shifting everybody over to the right side of the infield, and he just hits into it every time.
But he's getting close, and it's gotten to the point where now the fans are actively cheering for him every time he's coming up to bat. The Orioles fans are actually standing up, giving him as much encouragement as possible. Someone on Twitter mentioned it as if it was like, it's like watching Little League again, where you see that kid that just can't seem to get ahead. But you know what? Every single parent in the stands is like, come on, you can do it. You can do it, Chris. Go, go, go. Good eye, Chris. Good eye. You know, that type of thing. And now it's kind of endearing to me as well. It was funny because we were watching it. We watched all 3 of his at-bats today. Mm-hmm. And Andrew, you had said that it's funny. Like, this is funny because baseball is funny. But it's sad at the same time. Like, part of me wants to see it keep going. But another part of me wants him to, like, just break out and hit, like, a freaking 540-foot shot.
And it was interesting because there was a scenario in this game. His team was down 2 runs. There were 2 men on base, and he was coming to bat. The guy has the power to launch the ball. I mean, his nickname is Crush. He hit 50 home runs in one season, as you mentioned, 50 plus. I don't remember exactly how many, but
53 in 2013.
How ironic, considering that he is now at 53 hitless at bats. But anyway, that would have been a great way to break the slump. Blast a 3-1 home run to put your team in the lead. That would have been fitting. Obviously, it didn't happen. He struck out on that at bat. But I had the same sort of feeling when the Browns won their first game. Because on one end of the spectrum, I was thinking to myself, I want to see this go as long as they can. I want them to keep losing just for the schadenfreude of it.
And just to interject, the Capitals are up 3-0 after the first. So much like the Lightning, they are up 3-0 in the first game. But I do assume that they will not let what happened to the Lightning happen to them.
They would be stupid to
and
let
the Leafs are up 2-1 on the Bruins right now.
Oh.
Let's see. So Patrice Bergeron scored for the Bruins, and Marner once again unassisted on a shorthanded goal. So, Boston's a little trouble there. Okay, so I'm hoping he gets out of it. So Chris Davis, you are my non-sponsor. I'm trying to think of a great promo code for this guy. Like I'm trying to. What can we do for Chris Davis? Promo code. Chris without the K.
Okay.
So it's a double meaning because there is the good Chris Davis, but I also don't want him to strike out anymore.
That's true. All right, I'll allow it. All right, so should we wrap up with the AHL here?
Yeah. We're going to go into the American Hockey League playoffs, and then we will, I guess, wrap up our hockey extravaganza.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about the Gagarin Cup, the Kelly Cup,
We briefly touched on the NCAA
right.
Final Four.
We did see the game itself finishing for.
Before we go to the AHL, I just want to quickly bring up what BU was telling me in our behind-the-scenes conversation. Here we go. He was telling me that, I mean, ultimately it didn't matter because UMD ended up winning the game, but there were 2 goals that were called back against UMD, and
they could have beaten Providence by a lot more.
Correct. Could have been 6-1, although I can't imagine it would have gotten that far ahead because the only reason the goalie was pulled was because it was a 2-1 game. But you never know. The Providence's coach may have been a glutton for punishment. Let's see what he had to say. BU. He thinks UMass is going to go all the way. He thinks this is UMass's year. He thinks. He predicts that they'll squeak it out of this game, though. They have finally found reliable goaltending, and they will likely come out with a lot of speed. Whereas Denver had a difficult time breaking through against AIC 2 weekends ago. AIC was
American International.
They were the, I think, lowest seeded team in the whole. Yeah, they were, because they took on and defeat the top-ranked St. Cloud State. So he thinks that this is UMass's year. I don't know the last time that UMass won, but I know that UMD, this is their 3rd straight year going to the national championship. So it'll be interesting. I mean, although BU does say that he says, if I am right,
UMass this is their first time in their Frozen Four.
Really?
Yeah, this is the first time they've ever made the Frozen Four. They have yet to win a national championship.
But he says even though he thinks UMass is going to go all the way, he really hopes his prediction is wrong because he would love to see the meltdown because everyone hates UMass.
All right, so
moving on.
So the AHL regular season hasn't finished yet.
Oh, really?
They are, I think, April 14th. It says here. So we still have some games left.
Have all the spots been clinched?
Well, this is what we're going to look at right now. So, looking at the standings here, playoff picture through the games in April 10th here, their official primer. We have the Charlotte Checkers. They're definitely clinched with 106 points, followed by the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, the Hershey Bears. Looks like they've clinched from what it looks like. Then we have the Syracuse Crunch, which is the affiliate for the Lightning.
Yep.
The Rochester Americans have also clinched, as well as the Toronto Marlies. Then the Chicago Wolves have clinched, and we've got the Bakersfield Condors have clinched, as well as the San Jose Barracuda. So that's in the Western Conference. So in the East, we've got.
Oh, and I just want.
We've got 6 of the 8 spots in. So currently, the Providence Bruins have a 4-point lead on the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. It looks like with 3 games left, so it looks like Providence is going to lock down that final spot. And then we have a tussle between the Cleveland Monsters and the Belleville Senators, who are only a point apart from each other, and 2 games left for Belleville, 3 games left for Cleveland. So that's going to come down to the wire for the final spot in the East, whereas the West is way more wide open. We have the Grand Rapids Griffins, who are have 87 points, 3 points up on the Milwaukee Admirals, who are a point ahead of the Iowa Wild, who are also 2 points ahead of the Manitoba Moose, who are a point ahead of the Texas Stars and gosh darn it, the Rockford Ice Hogs, who still have a chance of making the playoffs with only 2 games left remaining.
Rockford Ice Hogs, by the way, is an amazing name for a team.
Right. And then we've got, finally, at the end, we have the San Diego Gulls with 77 points, 2 points ahead of the Colorado Eagles, who are defending Kelly Cup champion, but like we had mentioned before, have moved up to the American Hockey League.
They essentially just moved up in the world.
Right. So, and then they are a point ahead of the Tucson Roadrunners, who are the last team that has any shot of making the playoffs. So there's still plenty of spots left in the West. We'll see how that fares out, and we can, as the NHL playoffs move along in the future, we can pop in at the AHL in case we get bored of Chris Davis's streak.
Oh, and
hopefully it doesn't last that long.
Right. Although this is terrible of me to say, but I kind of hope that it goes to 57, so it's or 56 even, so it's the anti-Joe DiMaggio.
Even though how many games? So because it's an 0-for streak, so it's not. He hasn't played 53 games worth of 0-for-ness.
That's true.
So because that would be even more of an ineptitude.
That would be 1/3 of a season, roughly.
Okay, so that's the AHL.
We don't really have anything to say.
Race at this point. Not much else to say. Finally, Washington's up 3-0, and there's the other stuff. So we're about an hour and 30 into this. I don't know, Andrew. Do you want to call it?
I don't know. It's up to you.
I mean, and aside from the playoff races, is the hopeful playoff future for the Florida Panthers, which I didn't get to talk about in the last episode.
Yeah, let's cover Joe Quenneville.
For those of you who don't know, Joel Quenneville, the second winningest coach in NHL history behind only one man, Scotty Bowman.
Wow.
Is no longer a free agent. He is now the head coach of the Florida Panthers, who fired Bob Bugner because they knew they were going to get Quenneville, who was looking at other opportunities in Buffalo, but nobody's going to go to Buffalo.
Right.
I don't even think the people at the Frozen Four want to be there. I'm going to throw shade at the Sabres because they're one of the few teams that we can kind of sort of throw shade at.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And boy, oh boy, the fan base has been revitalized. I can tell you that a lot of people did not renew their season tickets after the way the Panthers ended their season. They have now renewed their season tickets after they hired Joe Quenneville. Interest in the team has actually boosted, according to Dan Rosen, like 200%.
Right.
So it has made an impact. And from a local standpoint, I think this might be the best opportunity for the Panthers to actually capture this market, because the Marlins are terrible. They only scored 1 run in their 3-game series against the Reds and gave up about 5 touchdowns worth of runs to the Reds. Mm-hmm. Actually, what's funny is there was a Marlins fan that attended his first game at Great American Ballpark. Once again, the best sponsored corporate name in sports.
Absolutely,
right now.
No question. For the longest time, until maybe 2 or so years ago, I thought it was just the name of the ballpark. I didn't realize it was a sponsor.
So, Great American Ballpark. So he visited Great American Ballpark for the first time, and if you go and I think go to like guest services or something and say, hey, it's my first game here, they'll actually give you a certificate that says, because it's the 150th anniversary of the Reds,
right?
They'll give you a certificate that says my first ball game at Great American Ballpark with the opponents, your name, and the date of the game.
Right.
So this Marlins fan went there. And the Reds, normally they put, okay, you saw on this date Cincinnati Reds versus Miami Marlins. But they decided to put, because he watched the 14-0 shellacking that the Reds did, they put Cincinnati Bengals versus Miami Dolphins. He got a chuckle out of that. And they actually gave him a real one with Marlins and Reds on it, but he has two of them now. One with the Dolphins and Bengals, the other one with the Reds and the Marlins.
I gotta admit, that is some very good trolling right there on the behalf of the Reds.
Okay, aside, so the Marlins are bad. The Dolphins are projected to be bad. They signed 7 AAF players, by the way. So some good came out of the league.
Yeah, I still think there are many more players that deserve to go to the next level. But yeah, it's good that there's some good came out of this, because these are guys I don't think would have gotten a shot normally.
And the Dolphins, since they're projected to be bad, why not? Why not give these guys a shot? Maybe you might find some diamonds in the rough, which was the whole point of the league, I guess, the original point before Tom Dundon, and I guess this is karma, as the Hurricanes are down 3-0 for him shutting down the league. Maybe it's the football, the minor league football gods exacting revenge on the Hurricanes or something. Maybe they talked to Don Cherry about it. Oh boy. So the Dolphins will be bad. The Heat just had this emotional run with Dwayne Wade retiring, and the Heat
what you said? You said now it's time to lay down and die or something?
Well, because I talked to Cesar yesterday.
Cesar is our California correspondent,
and who's a massive Lakers fan. And for him, Kobe Bryant was like, one of his idols. And when Kobe retired, like, it's just like a huge void for them. So I'm like, this is how you guys must have felt. And he's like, yeah, it's basically it. And I'm like, so I guess we just kind of lay down and die after this. Like, life is over now. But the Heat don't really have. They're kind of in the NBA kind of desert at this point. They don't know where they're gonna head, and we don't know where they're gonna head. So they're a huge question mark. And well, my college team are the Florida State Seminoles, who I actually want to show this, because this is a terrible Photoshop job, and I just want to show it off to people. So let me see if I can actually turn it. Sports _goofs Twitter. Hopefully Google can find us. I hope we're not that unpopular. Okay, so there's a status, and we'll find ourselves on Twitter at some point. So I want to see, or maybe I had okay, let me see. So you know how in college football, every season they come out with like a team poster, with like the dates of the schedule.
FSU one?
This is the Florida State one,
oh,
and
we made so much fun of this over at RCFB. So much fun. So
here it is. A look at the 2019 football poster, Florida State, with the 2 fire emojis there. 2019 Florida State football, 1 tribe, and you have about like 4 players sitting there with a bunch of spears in what looks like a landfill. Okay, so the Florida State Seminoles have a thing called the sod cemetery, where we take for significant games, we take a part of the sod with us and kind of plant it into the sod cemetery, and it's just a reminder of these games. So, when we beat the Gators or the Hurricanes or win a bowl game or whatever. This is awful. It looks like a landfill. The Seminoles had a landfill type of a season last year, so it doesn't help that we have this. It's just a shoddy graphic design job. Like, it just looks really bad. Like, this is like the lighting is horrible. The way that they place the helmets all over the place in the background, it's just really bad.
There were some people kind of bringing the AAF back into this. There were some people that were tweeting at FSU saying, hey, there's a lot of really great graphic designers looking for jobs right now. And the AAF, they had a really good graphic design and marketing team. And they definitely could use the jobs, and they did a great job with it.
Right. So a lot of people, if you posted this on April Fools, I would have understood. Like just all types. I'm trying to figure out what city is that in the background, and they put Havana, which is Havana, Florida, which is in the middle of nowhere out there too. And landfill dog, like, and there's the image of Tiger Woods in a Braves hat. I can't believe you haven't seen that. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why it's popular right now. And I had put, looks like all our graphic design degrees took a hit after this. Like, the value of it just took a hit.
You have a graphic design degree,
but not from Florida State. So thankfully, it doesn't really affect me in that sense. But it's just really bad. So there's no hope for, well, hopefully we improve somehow, some way for our 2019 season. But I'm excited for hockey because of Joel Quenneville, because he's going to bring legitimacy to the Florida Panthers. Mm-hmm. He's not going to take any guff, okay, for lackadaisical defensive efforts. Mike Matheson, in particular.
Joel
Keith Yandel.
Joel Quenneville is one of those old school coaches. I mean, and he gets results. You don't get to be the second winningest NHL coach of all time without having results.
Right, but he's also a guy who does follow the trends, which is why he had been so successful with the Chicago Blackhawks. So he's gosh darn, why are you cracking up? Did you find something really funny?
I'm looking at the Tiger Woods hats.
Yeah, for real. They're all over the place. I don't know why. It's like a meme for some reason. It really is that funny. You're laughing more at that than the Condor. This is our playoff hockey extravaganza, folks. You don't get this anywhere on radio or on TV or on the internet. Okay? Not in writing, nothing. Okay? If you want playoff hockey coverage that includes laughing at Tiger Woods in an Atlanta Braves hat, this is it. This is where you get that quality content. Okay, this is Sports Goofs. This is the whole reason I made this show, so that we could laugh at Tiger Woods in an Atlanta Braves hat. This is the pinnacle of the show, actually. We go downhill from here. So thank you, Tiger Woods, for popping on a Braves hat sometime in the mid-2000s, I'm assuming.
Okay. I'm back.
Okay, so David Dvorak actually pointed out that Joel Quenneville, in his first season, with every team that he's coached, has at the very least made the first round. I think the Blackhawks made it, or was it the gosh darn it, he at least made it to the second round in one season, and the Blackhawks made it to the third round in his first season as a coach for them. So it gives me hope that he can actually replicate that in Florida, because if we do get Panarin and Bobrovsky, we should be able to overcome at the very least the Blue Jackets and be competitive. We have the pieces to do so.
If you guys get Panarin and Bobrovsky, you're pretty much slated for a playoff spot.
It sets us up pretty well. We'll have Roberto Luongo as a backup, and that we had discussed before.
We do a lot of these. For anyone who thinks that we just make this stuff up and we're putting this on for the camera, there's no camera, but you get my point. We just had this discussion on our way to lunch earlier today.
So yeah, Luongo.
This is the stuff we talk about.
Yeah, Luongo is willing to be a backup, and it'd be great because he just cannot take a full starter's load anymore at 40 years old. And of course, I prefer him over Reimer, because Luongo, despite his age, is still a future Hall of Famer and is still a very serviceable goalie.
He's an above-average goalie.
Oh yeah, for the most part, at the very least, average at this age, which I would say Reimer is average on a good night and below average on his normal nights.
Right.
So Bobrovsky being there, and hopefully Bobrovsky has a good deep playoff run with the Blue Jackets, which would give us more confidence in his ability to at least step up in the playoffs, because guys like him and I guess Rene have always felt a little wavering to those in the playoffs, unlike a guy like Murray or Fleury or
right.
Well, even there's some questions about Tuukka Rask as it's now it's 3-1 Leafs still. So
well, as we were discussing earlier, I mean, all indications are that Bobrovsky is the real deal. I mean, going back to the Lightning Blue Jackets game,
to when he was with the Flyers, but
right.
Yeah.
He gave up in this last game. He gave up 3 goals in the first period. That's not great. And honestly, looking back, I'm surprised that the coach didn't pull him. I kind of wish he did in retrospect. That's not a great start to a game. But whatever mojo happened or whatever he did in the locker room,
and he came up with some huge saves in that third period.
He shut the Lightning down for the remaining 40 minutes, and had he not played the way he did, this would be a 1-0 lead for the Lightning, even if they were kind of coasting. So that's a good sign for you guys should you end up signing him, that he has the resiliency to bounce back from an atrocious start. Well, I wouldn't go so far to say atrocious. Atrocious would be, sorry, Patrick Waugh, you're my favorite goaltender of all time, but that was 9 goals that he gave up against the Red Wings.
The final game of his career with Montreal. Yeah, essentially something like that, something ridiculous where they didn't even pull him up for a while.
Although I can't really fault him for that, because if you're off your game, your coach should just pull you. Don't let a situation like that happen. But even still, that's like next level stuff. Giving up 3 goals in a period is, I'd say, fairly bad, but I won't go so far to say it's atrocious. But anyway.
But by the way, the Denver UMass game has already started just now, so the late game is on. So I do have hope for next season. I'm trying not to get, I'm hyped with Coach Quenneville there. I feel like that alone will get us a few more points in the standings. But of course, he's a coach; he can't play.
Right.
But I'm hoping his management style will resonate with the Panthers, and of course, resonate with free agents and/or players with no movement clauses who might want to move and demand trades, and be like, "Hey, Florida's aside from the no income tax and great weather, hey, they got still that young core that's there that we're still trying to take advantage of, and not Bryce Harper this whole thing up like the Nationals did."
Right.
And this one of the greatest coaches to ever coach.
Right. And I think also if the Panthers market this right, they'll get a few more season ticket sales, because
just take some winning.
And they can say this is a proven winner over his X-year career, and he's down here in Florida now.
They've already they're marketing it now. I mean, it is.
I know their Twitter logo is now a Q.
Exactly, with that, and the Q looks like a mustache on the bottom
right.
of it. But the Panthers, it's put up or shut up. I've said it before. This is probably their Hail Mary, their last-ditch effort to make things work down here, because this is their best opportunity with the void of the other 3 teams being terrible. That, hey, if they put on a winning squad, people will go up to Sunrise and watch them from down here.
Right.
They will come. They came out in droves in 2016. They did it in 2012. They just need to find a way to sustain it. So not one playoff appearance every 5 years. So I'm glad for the Panthers. I don't want to say much more about it because I can go on and on, but
well, we still have 10 minutes.
It's all still like like just speculation and hope
Right.
at this point. So I don't want to get too excited. I want to see how the offseason goes about. We still have the NHL draft. Some people think we might actually just trade our first round pick for some pieces, which wouldn't be bad either, because the Panthers are a win now mentality. That'd be great. And then we'll see free agency once those guys are ready to sign.
I think we'll know a lot more about the Panthers' future come the middle of June, once the playoffs are over. Whether
July 1st, maybe.
I think if somehow Columbus wins the Stanley Cup, they may be inclined to try and bring back Bobrovsky and Panarin.
I mean, if that did happen, I would assume Bobrovsky would not be leaving, but once again, who knows?
Maybe even a deep run in the playoffs. By the way, both of the goalies in the UMass Denver game, their names is Philip, F-I-L-I-P.
And one is Swedish and one is Finnish.
So they're both Nordic goaltenders with the first name Philip and a last name that starts with L. So, fun little fact there, I guess.
All right, so Andrew, we haven't really actually, despite the fact that we've talked about all this, we haven't actually given any predictions as to who we think we're going to win the cup. Now, I know where your heart lies.
Unfortunately, I really can't give any predictions until each series goes into their second game.
I feel like, from the way that I saw the Sharks handle the Knights, I feel like, and because this is their remember, Erik Karlsson is a free agent as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, the Sharks don't have much time left with some of those guys.
Right. Thornton's going to be retiring in the next 3 years, I think.
So, well, he's on 1-year deals from here on out.
Right. So, like sometime in the next 3 years, I think he's done.
So, but the Sharks, I believe, are going to come out of the West.
I think so.
Yes. I think they have the great mix of defense. Their Martin Jones has been a great goaltender for them. And once again, I told you about that third line of those veteran guys.
Yeah.
Not many teams actually have that reliable forwards, so they can roll lines. I like the way they played the Knights in that first game. It was the only game that wasn't a 1-goal game.
Right.
So they handily defeated them. So I do like the Sharks out of the West. Out of the East, man, the Lightning did not help in that first game. And by precedent from past, like they found ways to lose their series. The Capitals are still up right now. I find it hard in the East because
the Lightning have a propensity to choke.
You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say the Washington Capitals are going to defend their title.
You think so?
Right here, they're gonna go back to back.
See, before game one, just based on what the Lightning did all season, I thought the Lightning were going to go all the way. They still have the talent to do it. They still have the game plan to do it. The problem is, do they have the mental fortitude to do it? Because you gave up a 3-0 lead on the Blue Jackets, or any team for that matter. I don't care if it was the Baltimore Orioles, or I don't care if it was the Baltimore Orioles or the Washington Capitals.
Exactly. Heck, Chris Davis could have scored a goal.
Exactly. You cannot give up a 3-0 lead. You can't do that. It was actually the first time all season that they lost after having led by 3. So, I still think the Lightning are the team to beat. I can't say much more about the other games, unfortunately, because I don't follow them.
I mean, I'm just going by their performances from the last few seasons. They were up 3-2 on the Washington Capitals, and then promptly forgot how to score for the next 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
and this is from like one of the best offensive teams of the last few seasons. So that was in 2018, in 2017. So once again, in the second round,
the
first round. So that's when they were eliminated. I forgot.
Even going back to 2015 when they were in the Stanley Cup final, I think they only won one game. I don't remember exactly, but it was definitely the series should have been much closer than it was.
Right.
And then going back to 2011 even.
Well, they missed the playoffs in 2017.
Right.
And then 2016 was when they faced the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can't remember how that one went. But
well, that was the conference final. So the Lightning were once again up 3-2, and then probably lost game 6 and 7.
Yeah,
scoring only 3 goals in the last 2 games.
We definitely have the choke gene in us.
Right.
I mean, even going back to 2011, I can't really.
Well, that was freaking at the end of Game 7. That was a good game.
That was a good game.
That wasn't much of a choke. That was just
That was just
coming down to the wire between two teams, and Dwayne Rollison playing out of his mind at 40 years old.
Yeah, that save by Tim Thomas with the blade of his stick, that still gives me nightmares. We were so close, really so close, and I think that had we won that series, I think we would have won the cup. I don't think the Canucks would have. Admittedly, it was a 7-game, so I think it would have been a 6 or 7 game series, and I still think the Lightning would have pulled it out.
Yeah, and then you guys were up 2-1 on the Blackhawks in 2015, and then promptly lost. But that Blackhawks team was the pinnacle of the dynasty. So
Joel Quenneville.
I was about to say Joel Quenneville coach team. So hopefully, harbinger of things to come for the Florida Panthers.
So I could be eating crow in a few weeks, a couple of days, who knows. I still think that the path to the cup goes through Tampa, just because I know what they can do if they have the right mindset. One person said they bulldozed the league this year, and that is a not inaccurate
Yeah, I had
analogy.
said to you that they have handed their butts to everybody. Every team, I think, lost to the Lightning.
If the Lightning can get their heads on straight and play like they did, they kind of slowed down a little bit toward the end of the year. Not really. But if they can get their heads on right and play like they did during the regular season, there's no stopping them.
Hold on, what's going on out in Buffalo? Because we have the refs inside looking at the replay. So I just want to see what's going on because it's kind of interesting. So we've got.
We'll probably end the show with this.
Yeah, we'll end the show with this because we're about to hit the 2-hour mark. Thank you for anybody who watched our playoff extravaganza, even though we talked about baseball and.
Ooh. Check right to the head.
Oh, wow.
You can't do that.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely not.
No, that is bad.
And it wasn't like an accident. He threw his shoulder into him.
Yeah, no, that was purposeful.
No.
Right in front of the
absolutely
right
not.
in front of the benches.
You can't do that. Absolutely not. Wow. That's dirty. That is dirty.
Like, the puck is already past.
Like, look at that.
It's already past the Denver player. So
yeah.
So he's not. He missed the puck, so he's not even playing the puck. And just the follow through on itself, and that's the captain of the UMass team. So I guess the refs are trying to see if it looked intentional, which it totally does.
It totally looks intentional.
Like, looks like the guy is still up, and he's still on the bench for Denver. So
I mean, I think this should be a game misconduct ejection.
That's probably what they want to see, because if that's the case, and that's their captain, so I'm assuming that's a good player, and that it would be a massive loss for for the Minutemen.
I don't care if he's a fourth liner or the captain of the team. I don't care. You can't hit somebody like that. And
that's a no-no in any level of any sport.
And it's not like it was an accident either. It's like he threw his bicep.
Did he leave his skates? Did he leave off? Did he jump off the ice?
Came very close.
Because if that's the case, then you can. That's because you can't jump off the ice. You can't get off the ice for that hit. Because then
he came really close to it. But the thing I'm seeing more of is he wasn't a hit. He threw his arm into the guy's head.
Right. I mean, I could understand the shove, but it
wasn't a shove either.
No, that's what I'm saying. I can understand a shove, right. But
it looks like they're done.
That player's in a vulnerable position because he's got his head facing away from, well, not away from, but facing towards the bench, trying to play the puck. It rolls past him, and it's already like 5-6 feet past him at that point.
Officials may review when a major penalty is being considered. Outcome may be a major or minor penalty. Officials are also permitted to review unobserved situation. So we'll see what the call is here from the refs.
Okay, so yeah, just no. Okay, so what do we have here? I guess he's telling the Denver coach the decision.
Well, that was the UMass coach.
Oh, sorry, UMass. Sorry, they're in white and Denver's in red.
Right. It's old style jersey selection. In NCAA, he's going to the bench. I think he's done. I don't have the audio up on it, but I think he's done.
Yeah, he's headed to the bench. He's
Locker
taking
room.
up. He's taking off his helmet. So.
Hold on, I'm just gonna put up the audio a second.
Yeah, just. Okay, so it's a 5-minute major.
Huh.
Holy crap! You got the Spanish broadcast of the Frozen Four? I didn't even know that existed. Dear Lord, the Panthers don't even broadcast in Spanish anymore. Okay, so I didn't know that. No, okay, so
So I can't tell.
So it's a 5-minute major. I mean, I think it would have been worse if the guy was completely, like, if he was knocked out of the game, if the Denver guy was out, because then it's like, okay, and it looked like he was okay. I don't know if they put him through concussion. He's still on the bench, so I guess no concussion protocol there, but still pretty scary and kind of a somber note to end this on. But
yeah, but
regardless,
hey, it felt like a hockey commentator for once.
Oh yeah. All right, so Andrew, thank you for joining me for the hockey extravaganza.
Absolutely, I was happy to do it. Had a lot of fun.
I guess I might do a basketball extravaganza next week. I don't know if you'd be up for that, but I know I'd like to do it with Charles at the very least.
And Cesar. Yeah. I would probably just stay home for that one because I would contribute absolutely nothing to the conversation.
Like, yes, I lived in Orlando. that'd be the only comment you'd have.
Pretty much.
Okay, so
I like their old style jerseys from back when they were.
Well, they were celebrating their anniversary, so they were wearing them a lot this season.
They need to bring that back full time. That's the only major opinion I have.
Or at the very least, a modern version of it.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for joining us, Francisco and Andrew.
On behalf
share, and subscribe.
On behalf of the Sports Goofs, not with us this evening, because we're really the only two that care about hockey.
So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll catch you, I think, next week with an actual Sports Goofs episode 22.
Right. Yep. Good night, everyone.